Good evening. You're really cold. You're really cold. It's beautiful in here. You're cold also? Who left? Oh, where did she go? Okay. As long as it goes, she's happy, huh? Okay, that's fine. Good for her. Just move this a little back. Good evening, Marsha. Good evening, Kim. Are we ready? Let's see who's watching. If you're watching us online, please say hi so we can say hi to you. 1 second. Make sure our audio is working well. I'll adjust this a little bit. There we go. Good evening, Sarah. Good evening, Randy. Saul, good evening. How are you? Can everyone sit down? Or didn't open up a sheet? Okay, Mia Kel is watching us online. One of the most lovely, kind people. Mia Kel, you always do such beautiful things. I love it. So excited to learn from all you have to share this evening. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm excited to teach. More than you're excited to learn, I'm excited to go. Okay. Is anyone watching us on Chabad.org? I don't see. If you're watching us on Chabad.org, let me know. Okay, you guys ready? Ready, Steve? Ready. Saul, you had a good time yesterday? Okay. So, my friends, tonight's class is, first of all, in the memory of Yitzchak Tzvi ben Yosef, whose neshama should have an elevation. I hear Michael or Kim. None of you are watching. Okay. I hear myself on double now. Baruch Hashem. Now I really know that I'm alive. Okay, Gail, good evening. Good evening, Gail. And good evening, Carmen, all the way from Texas. Mika's watching from the Yukon. And Kim is watching from about 15 feet away, maybe less.
She says it feels like the Yukon.
It feels like the Yukon? Oh, why are you all so cold? It's cold? Because it's cold outside. But okay, it's fine. It's good. Have a tea. You'll warm yourself up. You'll warm your frozen bones. Yeah. Okay, Alice says we're good to go, ready to launch. Okay, Alice, we're ready to launch. Good evening, Shira. I'm glad you're with us. So, tonight's class, even though he's a little late, was actually inspired by a thought that I had from last week. And what I'm going to teach you tonight is completely new. It's actually, I don't want to say I didn't make it up, but I didn't see it written anywhere. But everything I say is 100% sourced. So I feel very confident in everything I'm going to teach you tonight, but it's truly the work of research. It's not like I saw this idea, this comparison or this contrast. We actually share two ideas tonight, and the connection between them is also my own. But what I'm going to share is based on the thought that I had in my head from last week's class. So if you remember, and let me just give a little introduction, that we are going to be teaching tonight perhaps one of the most boring chapters in the whole Bible. But if you think I'm going to leave you bored, it is not going to be a boring class. Marsha will enjoy. It's going to be X-rated. Some of it will have you all squirming in your seat. So if you're watching online, naturally, if you want to stay with us through the course of the evening, tonight's class will have you squirming. It will have you a little uncomfortable. This is even in the Torah. It is good evening, Dvorah. How are you? But on the surface level, she's okay. You're okay. There you go. On the surface level, tonight's conversation is going to all be from perhaps, honestly, one of the most boring chapters in the Torah. And I am sure that if you were to go to most people that know the Torah, that study Torah every week and study the weekly parsha, and start asking them questions on some of the names and some of the verses we're going to read tonight, you would get a blank look. And in fact, last Shabbos afternoon, I was studying and I'm counting the names of the chapter. We're going to read the chapter, the birth lineage of Esav and Yishmael and Seir. You know, the Torah goes through a whole chapter listing all the names of the descendants of Esav and then of Seir. Seir are the people that lived in the land before Esav moved out of Israel to go to the land of Seir. Not even the children of Abraham. And I'm counting and I'm recounting and I'm comparing the names and trying to And myself, like, what are you like figuring out there? Even myself, this is a chapter that almost everyone, we read it, we gloss through, and we just read it. And there's very little depth or commentary or classes, especially the first half of the parsha is so dramatic. Jacob and Esav meet, and they hug, and they kiss, and Dinah, and Shechem, and rape. There's a lot of stuff in the parsha. The end of it is literally just glossed over. But we are going to do a deep dive into a few of the characters that are mentioned in this family tree, and it'll be quite a beautiful lesson for us. A lesson that is perhaps a little, I'm not sure what the right word is. It's not traditional. It's not traditional, meaning if you go to the Basin in Miami and show them my class tonight, they might not agree. They might want me to add a few disclaimers, and they might not fully... Again, everything I'm going to say is sourced. Everything I say is sourced, but it's a little shocking because it's not perhaps so traditional to the way a lot of Jews behave today, and it's quite interesting actually. So I'm very excited about what we're going to learn tonight. Okay, so I'm going to begin by sharing with you a family tree. If you look on, if those are watching on my personal page, not like Lilia, who's watching us on Chabad.org, but all those who are watching on my own page, like Mindy and Joseph that's watching, I'm going to share with you the part of the tree this is copied from the Kahas Chumash, this family tree. And I want to start by reminding you what we discussed last week. We see in the top corner, we have Abraham, right? He's married to Sarah, who gives birth to Isaac, who gives birth to Esav, and he's married to Hagar. And Hagar has a child called Ishmael. This is the easy stuff. Now, Ishmael actually has 3 different wives. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you look at the sons of Ishmael on the very, very first, like at the furthest left column, if you want to count it, you can count it, or you can just know from last week how many are there. It should be 12. I didn't actually. It should be 12, right? Michelle's counting? Yes, 12. So those 12 sons of Ishmael was the theme of last week's class when I made a contrast between the 12 sons of Ishmael and the 12 sons of Yaakov. Again, something I don't see talked about in the commentaries. I'm not sure why, but it's something that's always been in the back of my head. And last week I found a beautiful explanation about the number 12 and how you have to have 12 as a number of 12 in time, 12 hours, 12 zodiacs, 12 months, and then 12. Well, that's why we started with the number 12. Yes. And then the name of God, if you remember, and the 12 in space, and there's 12 directions. If you don't remember last week's class, you can watch it. I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting. So someone asked me a question, what about the daughters? So if you remember, we're going to discuss it tonight, Yaakov doesn't only have 12 sons. Yaakov actually has 13 children mentioned in the Bible. It's quite possibly that he has much more than 13 children, because later on it says that Yaakov, when he was crying for the loss of Yosef, his sons and daughters came to comfort him. And some say he had daughters that his sons married half-sisters. But some say just his daughter-in-laws are considered like daughters. So it could be have more children. But the Torah mentions 13. So what about the 13th, the daughter? She's not important. Does she not have a role? And when Hector is not here now, he'll come soon. When he asked me that question, my brain started thinking, because the truth is Yishmael doesn't only have 12 sons. Yishmael has 12 sons and a daughter. How do I know his daughter? Because I know that Esav marries his daughter. So that's what's got me thinking. Okay. So let's talk now about the daughter of Yishmael. Her name is Basmas. Now, Esav has actually 3 wives. He has 3 wives. 2 wives, Ada and Ahlivama, we married before our story, long before this week's Torah reading, were his original 2 wives. These wives were not so good. They were non-Jewish girls. They were local Canaanite girls who were worshiping idols. In fact, when we know that Yitzchak was blind, when Yitzchak was before he thought he was going to pass away, he wanted to give a blessing to his son Esav, he couldn't see. Why was he blind? Rashi tells us 3 different reasons why he was blind. One of the reasons is because of the incense, the smoke of the incense from his daughter-in-laws that were burning incense to their idols, and the incense caused his eyes to go bad, and he lost his vision as a result of this. So these are the original 2 wives of Esav, and they are a source of bitterness and pain to both his parents, both to Rivka, who knew that they were bad, And even Yitzchak, who knew that they were bad, even though Yitzchak loved his son Esau very much, and I talked about a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, how Yitzchak wouldn't kick his son out of the house because he was always trying to bring him back. But these are his original 2 wives. Now, at the end of last week's Torah reading, what happens after Yaakov gets the blessing instead of Esau? Esau wants to kill his brother, right? So his Rivka comes to, the mother comes to Yitzchak and says, it's very hard for me to see my son marrying a local girl. And Yitzchak gives a blessing to his son Yaakov, and he says, don't marry one of the non-Jewish idol-worshipping girls from Canaan. You should travel to Haran, which is a city where your uncle, Lavan, lives. And there you'll find a wife from within our own family, right? That's the story how we end. And that's why Yaakov leaves Be'er Sheva, leaves Israel, going to Haran, going to his uncle. And that's where he meets his wives and gets married, has his children, all that. And Rivka had said, Katzti b'chaya, I'm disgusted with my life to imagine Yaakov marrying one of these local Canaanite girls. I wanted him to marry someone from within the family. So that is the context that leads us to the third marriage of Esau. And most people, they get married a third time, it's after they go once, then a second, then a third. Here he has 1 + 2 plus, his third wife. Let's read chapter 28. Let me just go back a second so I can share my screen. 1 second on those who are watching me online. Here we go. So chapter 28, verse 8 and verse 9. The verse is describing, actually really, I just didn't have space on the page because verse 7 is saying how Yaakov left because his father blessed him to marry Jewish girls, and Esau saw that. So Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan were bad in the eyes of Isaac, his father. So Esau went to Yishmael and took Machalas, the daughter of Yishmael, the son of Abraham, the sister of Nevoios, in addition to his wives, to be for him a wife. So this is the verse we read about Esau's third wife, but more importantly for the context of our conversation, the daughter of Yishmael, or the granddaughter of Abraham, the sister of Nevoios, which, why does it tell us the sister of Nevoios? Who cares who he's the sister of? Which means that Yishmael had already passed away at the time that Esau marries this girl Machalas. So the actual marriage was arranged through his sister, through her brother. I mean, normally when your girl gets married, who marries off the girl? The father. But at this point, Yishmael was already passed away. He was already dead. So the one that married off the girl was not her father, who was no longer alive, but her brother Nevoios, which is why the verse says that she was the daughter of Yishmael, the son of Abraham. The sister of Nevoios is the one who actually married her off, in addition to his wives to be a wife. Yes, Marsha.
Ishmael's wives were Jewish?
No.
So she's
And his first 2 wives are not Jewish.
right. No, Ishmael. So the one that Esau marries, she's a Jewish girl? Because
You're asking a very good question, which is a very complicated question. Did Judaism go by the father or mother before Mount Sinai? Does Yishmael's mother is also not Jewish. Yishmael, maybe she is. Did Hagar convert? I once went into this, and another, it's called a rabbit hole that you can go into, and I once went into this rabbit hole. If Yishmael is considered Jew or not,
right, because
his mother is Hagar, who is an Egyptian. But Hagar converted when she joined. If you ask me my personal opinion, okay? And this is a matter of great discussion amongst the commentaries. So there's no black and white answer to this. Esav is a Jew no matter what. He's a Yisrael Mumar. That's his halachic definition. Yishmael is discussion both ways. Personally, the way it seems to me, and again, I've researched this once a long time ago, Hagar converted properly with Avram, and her son was born after her conversion, and Yishmael's a Jew. Yishmael's a Jew. Then he later converted out, whatever, I don't know. Yishmael's,
all the Muslims come from the Jews.
it's not so simple. Again, his wives were, anyway, by Har Sinai, they didn't, Esau's children are not Jewish either. Right? So, and either way, even if Esau is a Jew, his wives are not Jewish, so his kids are not Jewish, so it doesn't make a difference for the descendants. But Yishmael himself, again, this is not such a simple thing what I'm saying now, but okay. But let's stay focused on the story at hand. because it's going to get more confusing soon anyway with more names. So, so here we have. We're going to have a good class. Don't worry, you're going to follow me all the way through. You're not going to get lost, I promise. I hope anyway. If not, I'll send a life raft. So far it's simple, right? Esav sees that his father and his mother also are pained by his local non-Jewish wives. So what does he do? He follows the example of his brother Yaakov. He saw Yitzchak had blessed Yaakov to marry a girl from his own family. So he also wants the blessing of his father. Esav, I want to stop for a moment and point out, Esav really loved and respected his father. Even though he was a wicked man who committed many, many sins, we see multiple examples and sources where Esav showed tremendous respect and deference to his father, to do what his father wanted, and in his father's presence, he tried to behave himself and, so to say, give his father nachas. He did give his father nachas to some extent, and he cared deeply that his father should be happy with him and that his father should love him and accept him, and therefore, he did whatever he could to make his father happy. So at this point, he sees how important it is to his parent that he marries a Jewish girl. So what does he do? He marries a girl from the family. Not from Lavan, but from a granddaughter of Avraham. He marries a granddaughter of Avraham. Good evening. He marries a granddaughter of Avraham, the daughter of Yishmael, whose name is Machalas. So for it's clear, yes, simple. Okay, now my friends, let's go back to our sheets. And let's keep on reading now from chapter 36. So that's already in this week's parsha. When the Torah starts going through, how are you, Hector? When the Torah starts going through, you missed the beginning already, but okay. When the Torah starts going through all, I told him. He missed the whole. I'll have to listen to the recording. I'll do a replay afterwards. So now, this week's Torah, the end of this week's parsha, in chapter 36, which goes through all of the boring lineage, so to say, of Esav, and no one ever pays attention to. Let's start reading it. These are the descendants of Esav, who is also known as Edom, which is also a fascinating verse, but I'm not going to get into it now. So Esav took his wives, the daughters of Canaan. Wife number one is Ada, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. That's wife number one. Wife number, and Elivama, sorry. That's wife number one. Wife number two is, sorry. Ada, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. Wife number two is Olivama, the daughter of Anna, daughter of Tzivion, the Chivite. That's number two. And number three is Basmas, daughter of Yishmael, sister of Nevoios. I underlined that on purpose. Could you tell me the obvious question on this verse? The name, right? I set it up for you. It should be quite obvious. We read in chapter 28, verse number 9, that who does he marry? Machalas, the daughter of Yishmael, the sister of Nevoios. And now it says he marries Basmas, daughter of Yishmael, sister of Nevoios. So we're probably talking about the same person, the same daughter, the same sister. But why is the name different? Is her name Basmas or is her name Machalas? So Rashi tells us, let's keep on reading a little further down. Rashi on this very verse tells us, Basmas, daughter of Yishmael. Elsewhere, scripture calls her Machalas. So who is she? So Rashi says, I found in the Agada of the Medrash of the book of Shmuel, there are three people whose iniquities are mochalim, are forgiven. One who converts to Judaism, one who is promoted to a high position, and one who marries. The proof of the last one is derived from this verse in verse 28, chapter 28, where that's why she's called Machalas, because when she got married, Esav's sins were machal or nimchalu, they were forgiven. Let me explain what this Rashi is saying. There's a concept that when the person gets converted on that day like a brand new baby, they're completely pure of sins. Which is why those who are in this room have gone through conversion know that after the guy asks for blessings and all that, because you're pure. There's no sins. Same is true when the person stands under the chuppah and gets married. On that day, it's like a Yom Kippur, they're completely cleansed of sins, which is why people ask someone that is getting married to pray for them under the chuppah. It's a very special time to get blessings from them. A chassan and kala on the day of their wedding have a tremendous spiritual purity to them, and therefore they can get blessings, etc. And I even know stories of people that got blessings from I have an uncle. My wife has an uncle that didn't have a job. He was struggling to find a job. He was in between, and he was specialty, whatever. And I don't remember someone told him to go to a chassan and get a blessing, or he just decided to do it. He went to a random in Crown Heights, the wedding every single night. So literally just walked into all the Torah, the ballroom, didn't know who the chassan was, walked into the chassan, asked for a blessing, got a blessing, and I think the next day got a job, something along those lines. This is a true story in my wife's family, not like I heard in a. Yeah. Unfortunately, not. None on the schedule that I have.
You keep us posted on a long line.
Yeah. So these are so that someone gets married, someone who was converted, and someone promoted to a high position, their sins are forgiven on that day. Therefore, the Torah is telling you that even though her birth name was Basmas, that was her real name. However, when he went to go marry her, what happened? Machalas. That's why he took a wife. It says in chapter 28, he went to take another wife. What was the name? Machalas. Why? Because on the day of the wedding, Machalu Abenaisav, his sins were forgiven. His sins were absolved. Now, if you stop, now you can read this. Okay, very nice. And by the way, the vast majority of people, myself included, until this year in my life, that's okay. So that's it. Very nice. It's a cute answer. She had two names because she was forgiven. But if you think about this, what is this really saying? What this is really saying is that there was a moment when Esav did the right thing to get married, not for himself. He had wives already, and he didn't care about a wife. If he wanted to have fun and go sleep with someone, he just wanted to rape them. So he wasn't looking for a wife. I'm saying if you're going to just go around rape women, then the wife is probably a little bit, more work than you need if you can just have fun without it. And he decided to go get married for one reason. What's the one reason why he went to get married? The Torah tells, it's not even like a commentary, it's black and white in the Torah. Torah tells us clearly the reason why he got married was to honor his father. Because he saw that his other wives were causing pain to his father, and he wanted to make his father happy. Meaning that this marriage of Esav to Machalas, the daughter of Ishmael, was an act of teshuvah, an act of repentance, that actually had an impact on him becoming a little bit more refined, a little bit more, a crack in his evil, so to say. It didn't remain, as the verse itself says, he took this wife in addition to his other wives, meaning he didn't do a full teshuvah. He kept his other wives. He kept the first two wives that were not Jewish and that were a source of pain to his parents. He kept them. So he wasn't fully like about teshuvah, like giving up his past and starting a new life. He was keeping the old and trying to be better. So many people try and do that. It becomes very complicated when you try and be better and try to keep the old at the same time. You try juggling two worlds, it's complicated. But that's what he was trying to do. But if you focus on the positive here, he was, at that moment, on that day anyway, he was forgiven for his sins, like a chassan, like a groom, standing under the chuppah, because he was inspired to do something, not for selfish pleasure, for benefit, for money, etc. He did it for one reason. He did it for the right thing, for his dad, for altruistic, noble, spiritual reasons, because this was the right thing to do, and he understood, I need to marry within the family of Abraham. So he marries a girl, not because she's beautiful, not because she's a hot model, maybe she was, I don't know. But he married her because she was from a Jewish family. She was a granddaughter of Abraham, and that was what was important to him on that moment. That she's a granddaughter of Abraham, someone that I'm supposed to marry. And that gave him mechila. That gave him forgiveness. We always think of Esav as wicked. And Esav, overall, in the big picture of his life, is wicked. But if you have a little understanding of human people, life is complicated, right? Life is complicated. And you have people they're bad people do good things. You have good people do bad, whatever. Now it's something bad people. I don't get distracted. But the point is, Esav wanted and did something as a mitzvah for the sake of a mitzvah. So what's the job of this girl? This daughter of Ishmael, this one daughter, there's 12 sons, and a daughter. The role, the mission of this daughter of Machalas or Basmas, the daughter of Ishmael, is to help transform Esav from a selfish, narcissistic animal soul, which we talked about a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, from someone who did only things for his own pleasure and own benefit and own self-gratification, and to start transforming him into someone who does things for God, for Torah, for Judaism, for his parents, for the right reasons, to marry the granddaughter of Abraham. She starts his journey into a path of holiness. And by the way, sometimes the best way to become a Baal Tshuva is not to try first removing the past and removing your sins, but by starting to do good. That's definitely the Chabad approach. Do good, and hopefully the bad will fall away by itself. So that's what he's doing. He's marrying Machalas. He's getting forgiven. He's starting righteousness. Now, half measure. Start. A start to become better and to do things for the right reason. Who's, yeah.
When you say one who marries, do you want who marries a Jewish girl?
Say again?
When it says the three things that can elevate you, so when you say one
Marrying a Jewish girl, obviously. If you're not marrying a Jewish girl, it's not even the category of marriage as far as Judaism is
so he
concerned.
married a Jewish girl.
Yeah, he married the granddaughter of Abraham. It's Abraham's granddaughter. Okay. Now, let's go to the next girl we want to talk about. Who is the counterpart? If we have the 12 sons of Yishmael and one daughter, so we have 12 sons of Jacob and one daughter. Who's the one daughter of Jacob? Dinah. So now hold that image of Esau trying in his own misguided way, in an incomplete, half way, where he's not abandoning or divorcing his sinful wife, but he's trying to be better. Now let's go to the story of Dinah. In this week's Torah reading, we find a verse. The verse is telling us how Yaakov is preparing to meet his brother, who he hasn't seen in 22 years, Esau. And he's getting ready for the meeting. And as he's preparing himself to have this meeting with his brother, the verse, chapter 32, verse 22 tells us, he gets up in the middle of the night. And he takes his 2 wives, and his 2 handmaids, and his 11 children. And he crosses the ford of the Yabok River. And he took them, and he brought them across the stream. He brought across all that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and the man wrestled with him until the breaking of the dawn. Okay. Famous story, he wrestled with the angel, etc. But Rashi asks a very simple question. Turn the page over. It says he took his 11 children, and he crossed over the river. Where was Dinah? She's one of his children now. Benjamin wasn't born yet. She had 11 sons. But Dinah, where is she? Says Rashi, he placed her in the chest and locked her in so that Esau should not set his fancy upon her. On this account, Jacob was punished because he had kept her away from his brother, for she might have led him back to the right path. She therefore fell into the power of Shechem. Those who don't know the story of Shechem, Dinah went out to go see the local girls, and she went to the city called Shechem, and there she met the prince of the city, whose name was also Shechem, and Shechem takes a liking to her, and he first seduces her. She goes to the palace. At first it's consensual, and then it becomes non-consensual. He rapes her. He keeps her. He tells her, I want to marry you. He comes to the sons of Jacob. I want to marry your daughter, etc. And they kill the city. But
who was really punished? Dinah was already punished too.
Dinah was punished, sure.
But it wasn't her fault. She was punished.
Okay, granted. I don't disagree with you. And we can get to what Yaakov was. And by the way, what did Yaakov do so wrong? Yaakov was protecting his daughter. Yaakov was protecting his daughter. And I was looking into this a little bit, and I wanted to look more. Yaakov. So let's analyze here a second. Let's analyze this story. Yaakov knows he's about to meet Esau, and to protect his daughter, he knows that his brother might be seduced or be tempted by his daughter Dinah. Who's obviously a beautiful girl. So he locks her up in the box to protect and prevent her from interacting with Esau. Now, the fact that Yaakov knew that Esau would be inspired and want to be with her already means he understood that Dinah has some connection to Esau. Dinah has some connection to Esau.
And she's Leah's daughter.
Exactly, Marsha. Very good. Very good. I was going to say that in a minute, but since you already said, I'm going to say it now, and I'll go what I was going to say in a second. How do you know that Dinah has a connection to Esau? Because when Yaakov came to Haran, there was 2 girls. Leah, whose eyes were red from crying, and Rachel, the younger one, who was very beautiful. Why were Leah's eyes red from crying? Because people used to say, the older girl is going to marry, there's 2, Rivka has 2 sons, and Lavan, Rivka's brother, has 2 daughters. So Lavan's older son, Say Lavan's older daughter, Leah, will marry Rivka's older son, Esav. And Leah's younger daughter, Rachel, will marry Rivka's younger son, Yaakov. So Leah knew that she was destined for Esav. And therefore she cried because she didn't want to be with Esav. And as Rebbe explains, what people said. People said. So some old yenta in Starbucks, some guy in the mikvah, he was saying, some old lady made a calculation. She has a boy, she has a son. Oh, Mazel tov. So people said means that's reality? Yeah, when Torah tells you that people say, it means that Torah is telling you that, yes, there's a reality that for whatever reason, the spiritual energy, the soul of Leah, has a job on Esav. Esav and Leah are meant for each other, which is why Torah tells us this rumor that Esav and Leah are going to get married. Because on a deeper spiritual level, they're meant for each other, and Leah has a job in the refinement and in the journey of transforming the tremendous spiritual power of Esav into holiness. That's part of her spiritual job, which is why on the external manifestation in the world in which we live, people say, oh, Leah's going to marry Esav. They don't know the deeper spiritual truth. But everything that we have in the physical world comes from a deeper spiritual reality. And on a deeper level, Leah and Esav are meant for each other. What happens? Lavan messes things up, and Lavan gives Leah to Yaakov. So Leah thinks she's off the hook, but the spiritual mission had not been done. The tremendous spiritual energy of Esav, and Esav has a tremendous spiritual energy, which is why Yitzchak wanted to bless Esav. One second, let me finish the thought. Why Yitzchak wanted to give the blessing to Esav, because he saw the tremendous potential and power that Esav had, and that's tremendous. And for whatever reason, Lavan messed it up. So therefore, Leah didn't marry Esav, didn't do her job in transforming the what should have been transformed in Esav. So that unfulfilled mission now goes to her daughter, to Dinah. So one second, let me just finish. So when Yaakov doesn't allow Esav to be together with Esav, Yaakov does not allow Dinah, his daughter, to be together with Esav. He prevents that. Says the Medrash, and I didn't quote the Medrash inside only because of space, and Rashi kind of says it. The Medrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Lamas mirei chesed, that you held back kindness from your friend, from your brother. So you held back kindness from your friend, Manata chastacha me achicha, you held back chesed from your brother. Because if you would have married to him, he's a circumcised man, she could have influence on him. Instead, she ended up with a non-circumcised man with Shechem. Understand? So here's the counterpart. The daughter of Yishmael, Machalas, began a journey of transformation where she affected a machila of forgiveness in Esav. She started it. Leah, and then if not Leah, her daughter Dinah, was meant to continue that and to complete that. And because Yaakov was afraid of Esav, Yaakov didn't trust his power to influence his brother. How do I know that? One more second. How do I know Yaakov didn't have the power to influence, didn't feel he had the power to influence his brother? Because when Esav, when they meet and they hug and they kiss, Esav says to Yaakov, come, let's travel together. What does Yaakov say to him? No, thank you. You go ahead. I'm coming soon. And he never came. He felt afraid to live together with his brother. Spiritually afraid, not physically afraid. He felt that Esav would corrupt him. But that was wrong. If you would have gone with him, he could have brought Mashiach. He could have done that. The idea we say every day in our davening that the saviors will go up on the mountain of Seir to judge the mountain of Esav, he could have done it. He felt that the children weren't ready, the sheep aren't ready. Again, I'm not judging now Yaakov for why he did or didn't do it, if it was a right or wrong decision. But the fact is that Yaakov didn't feel that he could have a role in influencing his brother. He felt the only way I can survive as me is by avoiding my brother, by living far away from him. I can't interact with him without being damaged by it. That was the mindset of Yaakov. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. That's not tonight's class. That's what he thought. What we are discussing tonight is the fact that he prevented his daughter Dinah from being an influence on Esav, because he was afraid of Esav. And therefore Dinah, the 13th child of Yaakov, did not finish what Machalas, the daughter of Ishmael, the 13th child of Ishmael, started. Understand that? Isn't that amazing? Okay, yes. And by the way, this is totally my own. I did not see this written anywhere, but I think it's perfectly clear. I feel very confident in it. Yes.
So then I'm thinking one step further,
Yeah.
Dinah was originally a boy in the womb. Maybe that was really the reason why Hashem changed it to a girl.
After, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. After the fact, you see what her job was. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. You understand? Beautiful. So now let me introduce you to one more character, one more woman number 3 of our story. It's not directly connected to this, but it's in this week's Torah reading. And the message is going to be the tragedy of her story. It's going to be the same tragedy of Yaakov not allowing his daughter to do her natural spiritual tikkun, her spiritual mission of refining and elevating Esav with a journey that had been started by Machalas. And therefore, she ended up with a non-circumcised man. She ended up with Shechem. We find another similar story with another woman also in this week's Torah reading. Who's the third woman in this week's Torah reading? So, I forgot to ask you one more question in the beginning, which is okay. If you read through chapter 36, which is this whole chapter, the end of the Torah reading, of this week's Torah reading, the whole goes through all the family of Esav. Esav is Edom, all the different wives and the children of Esav and Eliphaz, etc. And then it starts going to the family of Seir. Who is Seir? Before you read the paper, who is Seir? Seir is a tribe or a country or people that lived in this land, not even in Israel, before Esav went there. After Yaakov returned back to Israel, so Yaakov was very wealthy, and Esav had a lot of flock as well, and they didn't want to live, they couldn't live together. So Esav left Israel to a place called Seir, leaving the land of Israel for Yaakov, and he went to Seir, he conquered the people living there, and he took over this place and made that his new homeland, Seir. So the Torah tells us about the people of Seir before Esav even went there. And seemingly, why are they mentioned in the Parsha? They're not even the family of Abraham. Yeah, we go through the whole genealogy of Ishmael's family and his different wives and different grandchildren, the grandchildren of Abraham. So makes a little sense. Seir, there's like 6-7 verses there that's about a family that's not even part of the family of Abraham. So why is it there? So, my friends, let us read about another woman. Her name is Timna. Okay? Now, verse number 12, 36. It's going through Eliphaz. I didn't put all the verses there because this was a lot of names. It would just sound confusing, more confusing than it is. But Esav has a son called Eliphaz. Oh, you know what? Go back to the beginning. Go back to turn over to the chart. Okay? So, you see Basmas. She's married to Esav, right? You see Esav next to Basmas. I highlighted, I circled Basmas. So, Esav has another wife called Ada. And Ada has a child called Eliphaz. You see that on the chart? Okay. Now, Eliphaz, the Torah, the verse number 11, 36 verse 11 tells us the 5, we're not going to read it inside, the 5 children of Eliphaz, Teman, Omer, Tzvo, Gatam, and Knas. You see them right there. On the family chart, Eliphaz's 5 children. Then the next verse says, and now turn the page back over and go to verse 12 of chapter 36. In addition to these 5 children of Eliphaz, Eliphaz had a concubine. Who is a concubine of Eliphaz? Timna. Timna is a concubine to Eliphaz, son of Esav, and she bore to Eliphaz a child called Amalek. You heard of Amalek, right? Yes, you have. Amalek is the arch enemy of the Jewish people, the icon of hatred to the Jewish people. The greatest hater the Jews would ever have is Amalek. And then all the greatest haters of history, Haman and Ahmadinejad and Saddam Hussein and Nebuchadnezzar, they all come from Amalek. These are the sons of Ada, wife of Esav. Okay.
Telling me that Amalek is a descendant of Abraham?
Yeah, listen, my friend. Let's go a little further. So, let's find out who is Timna. Who's Timna? Yeah.
Timna was not the girl that was rejected when she went to convert it.
She is, yes, that's what the Gemara says. Yes. That's exactly who she is. Exactly. I'm going to tell you in a minute. I'll tell you. Let's go in order, step by step. So, Timna is a Pelegesh, the concubine. A concubine, just in case you don't know, it's not a full wife. She doesn't have the rights. A wife has a ksuba with a marriage document that she has to be divorced. Concubine is like a harem. Just they live in the same house, but they don't have the protection and the rights that a wife has in Judaism. So he has a wife and he has a concubine. But who is she? And why is it relevant to know who she is? So Rashi actually tells us that the whole listing of the family of Seir is to know the story of Timna. So let's see, what is the story of Timna? Who is she? Where does she come from? So I'm now going to read from verse 20, describing the family of Seir. These are the sons of Seir, the Chori, the inhabitants of the land, Lotan and Shoval and Sivon and Anna and Dishon and Eitzer and Dishan. These are the chiefs of the Chorites, the sons of Seir in the land of Edom. And the sons of Lotan were Chori and Hemam, and Lotan's sister was Timna. Very interesting verse. Doesn't say, normally if you have a sister, then she would be the daughter of your father, right? Generally speaking, that's the way it works. Your sister comes from the same father you come from, generally. But if you look in the verse, it says, the sons of Lotan are, who are the children of Seir? Lotan and Shoval and Sivon and Anna and Dishon and Eitzer and Dishan. It does not say Timna was a sister. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say she was a daughter. It just says that one of them had a sister called Timna. So let me read to you Rashi. You know what? Chronicles, Rashi tells us that if you look in the book of Divrei Hayamim, it enumerates her among the children of Eliphaz. Timna is not the daughter of Seir. She's the daughter of Seir's wife, but she's not the daughter of Seir. You know who her biological father is? Eliphaz, the man that took her as his concubine. Eliphaz is, I told you you're going to be squirming. Eliphaz, I'm going to show you the chart first. Eliphaz, look at the chart. Turn back over to the chart. Eliphaz, you see that dotted line there? That like straight line is for incest and adultery. So Eliphaz has incest with the wife of Seir, whatever her name is, Mrs. Seir. And Mrs. Seir gives birth to a girl who is not the daughter of her husband Seir. This girl is the daughter of Eliphaz, the son of Esav. And this girl, who's not really part of the family of Seir, because she's not born to Seir, doesn't belong in the family of Seir. We're going to soon read she comes to the family of Abraham, and they won't take her either. She's a black sheep. And she comes from an illegitimate marriage. So what happens? Eliphaz takes this girl as his concubine. He takes his biological daughter as his concubine to have children with. And who is the child of this relationship between the child born from this relationship of Eliphaz with his biological daughter is Amalek. That's where Amalek comes from. That's where Amalek comes from. Told you wouldn't be bored in tonight's class. Yes. So his mother is his mother. No, whose sister? Esav's mother is also his biological half sister. I mean, they share the same father. Correct. Esav's father and Esav's mother Esav and Esav's mother both come from the same father. Meaning his father is also his grandfather. Esav's father is also his wife's father. Yeah. Esav's father, Amalek's father is also his wife's father. So it's his grandfather. With a mishmash. That's where Amalek comes from. So now, Timna, and that's what the text says over there, but I just told you outside. So hold on. Before I blow you away, can you think about this for a second? The Torah goes through a number of verses to tell us the whole family of Seir. Rashi tells us that why does the Torah need to tell me that Seir had sons and Sivon and Lotan and Shoval and Dishon and Eitzer and Dishon? in order that you should know that this girl, Timna, is not one of his children. He's only the sister of his children because they come from the same mother, not from the same father, in order to tell you that this is the girl Timna that becomes the concubine of Eliphaz. Now, why would we need to know that? In fact, the king Menashe, who was a very, very, very wicked king, this is Gemara Sanhedrin says, that the king Menashe was mocking and scoffing the Torah. And one of the reasons why he became a heretic and went against the Torah, he said, look, the Torah is supposed to be so holy. I could show you verses in the Torah that are disgusting verses, that are like what you would talk about in the coffee shop when you were yenting about someone and hushed, did you hear what I heard about Timna? Did you hear what, I have gossip for you? And that's in the Torah. So why is the Torah telling us to us? Seemingly, it's terrible, right? Seemingly, obviously it's very interesting to know that Amalek, the hater of the Jews, comes from the most messed up family you can come from. Literally, he comes from the product of incest, where his mother is the daughter of his father. You understand? It's crazy. Maybe she was a concubine. She didn't have any protections. Yeah, meaning a concubine and rape is, I don't know. Takes her, but not even as a wife. Meaning he didn't even give her the dignity of being a wife with, not that that's a dignity to be the wife of your father, but I'm saying she didn't even give him that where he gave her a ksuba and like to be a wife. I guess not. So she's his concubine. So he's right. He's a rape victim. Correct. Which might explain the trauma that Amalek has, by the way. I didn't think of this. If you go psychologically here, the children of what?
And isn't Mashiach coming from incest too?
Yeah, but that's a different conversation. But I'm saying but no, it's that. Oh, hold on. Everyone comes now look, but that's. Let's stay focused on this. You probably could, not probably, general a child of. I can agree with you. Timna is, what do you want to call her right now? She's being raped by her father on a consistent basis. She's a concubine. She's not even like a married woman. She's a concubine of her father who gave birth to her in an illegitimate relationship. So she can't get married. So he's having children with her. And you can imagine that trauma, because we believe very strongly that the thoughts of a person at the time of intimacy directly impact what kind of person that they're going to be. And therefore, this child of Amalek, can you imagine how he grew up, what kind of home he grew up in, the insecurity and inferiority complex and all that, would explain a lot of the hatred, the illogical hatred that Amalek has of the Jewish people. Very interesting. It's a very good thought. But let's stay focused here. We can't give another time, yeah? Read a book.
That's almost like a Hitler story.
yeah. Hitler story. Anyway, so it's a crazy story. So Timna is the daughter of her husband, and together they have a child called Amalek. But now, why do we need to know this? And Menashe is making fun, and Menashe is saying that it's crazy. This is what the Torah is teaching us, and yet. So Rashi tells us, it's not here, that this shows that why does the Torah tell us this? I didn't put the Rashi here because I put the Gemara, but the Rashi said the Torah is showing you all these verses to show you the praise of the Jewish people. What's the praise of the Jewish people? That they were so honored that Timna, she grew up as a princess. Because who was her father? Her biological father was Eliphaz. But who was her birth father, her Seir? She grew up officially in the palace. So even though Seir wasn't her biological father, she was the sister of all the princes. She grew up in the palace, even though she didn't really belong because she wasn't really their daughter. And so Timna, I'm going to just go ahead now to the Gemara, because Rashi is quoting from the Gemara. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us as follows, something very interesting. What happened with this Timna girl? How did she end up marrying Eliphaz, who is the son of Esau? Says the Gemara, Timna was a princess. She was an aluf and a noblewoman. As it says later on in chapter 36, and a few verses later after the verse 12, which we just read, when they repeats all the names. It says aluf Timna, the chief of Lotan, the chief of Timna. Meaning, every chief is a king without a crown. Every chief is a king without a crown. The Torah says aluf, and the Torah calls her brother Lotan aluf, a chief, and it calls Timna an aluf. A chief means that they have a kingdom, they have a province, they're a noble person, just they don't have a crown. They don't have the title of king, but they have all the wealth and all the power of being a noblewoman. And nevertheless, she sought to exempt herself. Here says from Cherem, she wanted to convert to Judaism. She wanted to join the Jewish people. So what happened? She came before Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Now, I don't understand this is literal because I don't think Abraham was still alive at this time, because Abraham passed away when Esav was 13 years old, and Eliphaz is a child of Esav. So I don't know that Abraham was alive. When she came to the Jewish people, she came before Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they did not accept her. I can understand why they didn't accept her, by the way. She was born from an illegitimate child, whatever, but they didn't accept her. She's a mom. Listen, they didn't accept her. She went and became a concubine to Eliphaz, the son of Esav. She said, "It is better for me to be a maidservant to this nation than to be a noblewoman to another nation." Stop for a second before we read the last line. In Rashi, this is all Rashi says. Rashi does not say the next line we're going to read. Rashi is quoting from the Gemara. But Rashi just says this part. It's showing the praise of the Jewish people. What's the praise of the Jewish people? That they were so considered so honorable that even the noblewomen of the other nations, like Seir, that were wealthy, important people, this girl Timna understood that better to be a maidservant in the house, in the family of Abraham, than to be a noblewoman in my own province, my own kingdom. Just like Hagar. Hagar did the exact same thing. Hagar was a noblewoman, the princess of Egypt. When she saw the miracle that God did for Abraham and Sarah, what happened? Hagar came to Abraham and she converted her. She was accepted by Abraham. She was accepted. And Abraham took her, converted her, and married her eventually. And she had children with Abraham, which is Yishmael. So Timna, the same thing. Sort of. What's the difference? Timna couldn't get accepted the way the Jews wanted. So what did she do? She made up her own version. She said, okay, if I can't be a Jew, I'll at least marry Eliphaz. I'll at least marry into the extended family of Abraham, even though Esau was wicked, and Esau's children were wicked, and Eliphaz was definitely wicked. I mean, the guy's making relationships with his biological daughter. This is not a righteous man by any stretch of the imagination. It's hard to find a way to make him righteous, right? But she said, I want to be part of the family of Yaakov, a family of the Jewish people. So that's what the Torah tells us this, to show you the honor of the Jewish people, that this princess was willing to give up being a princess to join some part of the family of Abraham. She made a big mistake because she didn't go all the way. She didn't do it properly. She went halfway and she stopped with Eliphaz instead of pushing the way Hagar did. Hagar went all the way. Hagar accepted the abuse of Sarah and she became a proper Jew. She didn't do that. She became a concubine to her biological father. So it's not complete. However, the Gemara says one more line. This should have really been its own sentence. Says the Gemara, one more line. What's this one more line? This is not in Rashi. This is only the Gemara. Rashi does not quote this. The Gemara says, what was born from this union of Timna and Eliphaz? Amalek. Says the Gemara, from her kid is Yolda Amalek, who oppressed the Jewish people. Why? Because they should not have rejected her. Because the Jews rejected Timna from being accepted into the Jewish people. So what did she do? Instead of trying harder to become part of the Jewish people, instead she went to Eliphaz. But because the Jews didn't accept her, because the Jews were afraid of allowing her to join the Jewish people, what came out of that as a result? Amalek, the greatest Jew hater of all Jew haters. The greatest Jew hater of all Jew haters. So that was now why? Let me say more. Why am I connecting this? What was the story of well, I'm going to say more than that. So I'm saying it's a little bit of like a revolutionary idea here, a little bit cutting, a little bit almost heretical. What's the story of Dinah? There was two girls. Machalas had a job to start the transformation of Esav. She started the process. But Yaakov was afraid of his daughter being involved with Esav. And for very legitimate reasons, Yaakov felt that I have to do everything I can to protect my daughter from being negatively influenced by this wicked Esav. So he hid his daughter in the box so she would not become corrupted by him. And that was a mistake. It led to worse things because he didn't allow his daughter to do the job that her soul was meant to do. The same thing happens with Timna. Timna was meant to become part of the Jewish people, I guess. She could have. She would have gone all the way. She came, they didn't accept her. So she said, I don't need to be accepted properly. I'm okay with Eliphaz, who was the son of Esav, who was a wicked person, the son of a wicked person, but his next generation of Esav is her next descendant. And because they were together in an unholy way, what was born from them? Amalek. The most unholy, evil, wicked person that you can imagine is Amalek. So there's a very, very important lesson over here for us. Very important lesson. Dinah was hidden to be protected, ended up hurting her. And we rejected Timna to protect our own lineage, and it ended up hurting the Jewish people. Which means that there's a lesson here, which many Jews would have a hard time with, but the Rebbe you have to still be careful. I'm not saying you just allow yourself to become exposed and not have boundaries in place. You need to have boundaries. But we also have a job to not be introverted Jews, so to say, and to be so insular and so self-concerned that we become oblivious to the needs of the other Jews around us. And therefore, we have to find a way in ourselves to be more welcoming and accepting to people that are not like us, to people that are like Esav, to people that are like Timna, who come with baggage, who come from messed up homes and messed up families and are wicked people and selfish people and narcissistic people. And obviously in a way without getting hurt, because a person has to protect themselves first and foremost. We have to protect ourselves. And that's why there's a lot of disclaimers required. And the message I'm saying could be very, very easily taken as a standalone idea and taken to an unholy and dangerous place. But within all the boundaries and protections and safeguards that a Jew needs to have to keep himself holy and pure, and the Torah is full of safeguards. It's not like the Torah says protect yourself. It's full of them. At the same time, there's a message for us that we have to sometime when we see a Timna comes and says, I want to be accepted. When Esav comes and says, I want to make peace, and he kisses Yaakov, even if at that time his intentions were not pure. Esav's intentions were not pure. The Torah writes in the word, it says he kissed his brother. On top of the word he kissed him, there's dots, which means that the word should not be taken literally. So it says he kissed him, it didn't really kiss him. It wasn't a pure kiss. And Timna joining the Jewish people was maybe not so pure either. Could be came from a lot of insecurity. She wasn't really part of her own family. She came from not such a good story. But nevertheless, when Esav reaches out with peace, and when Timna reaches out, instead of saying there's too much for me to deal with this person, there's too much drama with them, too much emotional baggage and whatever, and I'm just going to disconnect. I'm going to protect myself. Sometimes you have to know when to. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes you do have to cut yourself off. There are times that a person is emotionally dangerous for you and toxic, and sometimes. But you have to know when is it from laziness, when is it really dangerous, when is it my job's mission, and not to allow us to create an Amalek out of rejection, but instead of rejection, to create a transformation through connection. That, my friends, is a very interesting lesson for us from Machalas, the daughter of Ishmael, from Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and from Timna, the daughter of Eliphaz, and the mother of Amalek. How is that, my friends? Told you, heavy duty stuff. And think about this since Shabbos. I've been studying this and thinking about this. Yes, never think about it. Yeah. Did she know that Eliphaz was her father? That's a good question. I don't know. It is possible she didn't know Eliphaz was her biological father. You have to, not always do people know what their biological fathers are. It is possible she didn't know. Eliphaz knew. He probably knew. He probably knew.
She must have been much younger.
Yeah, I don't know if that bothered anybody back then. Yeah, I don't know if that was such an issue. I mean, yeah. Okay.
That time was 12.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very, very much, Miyakel, for your beautiful words. Definitely an eye-opener, much a lot to think about. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm sure you like this. Gail says that this is a psychologist's nightmare. The story of Eliphaz, yeah. Gail, 100%. Definitely a psychologist's nightmare, and definitely squirt me a messy Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, everyone watching. If you're watching, say hello. Cheryl, I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm glad that you thought it was a great class. Laila Tov. Lila, thank you so much for this nice evening from Miami. Welcome from Miami, Lilia. Okay, Dave, I'm glad you're joining along with us. Okay, Laila Tov, everyone. Next week, something important. So next Sunday, we're having the hostage. Next Monday and Tuesday is our end of the year matching campaign. Unfortunately, the website will be ready tomorrow, but the flyers are ready. But every donation we get next week is being doubled. Zat Hashem, we're doing phone calls and all that. And there will be class till Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. So you can still join us for class. Yeah, God willing. I might do the butler and the baker next week. Anyway, that's the story. You can watch it again. Laila Tov, everyone. See you next week, 8 o'clock p.m. God willing. Thank you, Mindy. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.